Hi, my name's Scott, and today we're going to go through 6 reasons why you're struggling to become a professional photographer. If you're watching this, you're probably struggling to get going at the moment. And one of the biggest reasons for this is because you do not have a niche, or niche if you're American. If you're trying to be a jack of all trades, it's very difficult to 1, get noticed, and 2, command a good fee. If you need your house rewiring, you're not going to hire a handyman, or if you do, you're going to get a bad job, but he will be cheap. Now, if you're a photographer, you do not want to be the handyman doing the cheap plumbing. You want to be the plumber doing the plumbing. So if you want to take portraits, that's brilliant, but that's not a niche. You need to really narrow it down into exactly what you do. And the fear is that if you do that, you're going to lose all this peripheral work over here. But the reality is this: when I narrowed down to the genre of food photography that I did, I went from charging £500 a shoot to £1,200 plus license and usage on top. And that's a massive difference. I need to shoot one of every 15 or 20 shoots I was doing before because of the new rate I can charge. If you don't have one already, find a niche and just go straight down that rabbit hole, follow it to the end, and it will make a huge difference in becoming a professional photographer. The next thing, which probably sounds really obvious, is to put yourself out there. You need to be on Instagram, you need to be on your own blog. If you can be on YouTube, be on YouTube. All of these things help. I wouldn't bother wasting time with Twitter and Facebook and LinkedIn. But Instagram specifically, I get so much work from so many art directors because most creatives are already on there. Now, if you're going for the scattergun approach, perhaps Facebook is a better place. But if you're trying to find your niche and narrow down into it, look at Instagram, be on there daily, share your stories. You need to be consistent, and you also need to be putting a consistent message across in that. So if you're not doing it already, get on Instagram and just plug yourself relentlessly. So the next tip is to know your numbers. And this comes to more of an accountancy sort of area, I guess. If you don't come from a freelancing background, you've never had to really worry about this in such a way. You probably go, my salary is this, and I spend this much. But once you're freelance, you need to really watch the money because you don't know when your next paycheck's coming. So you need to know exactly to the penny what is leaving your account. It's always better to save £1 than to spend £1 as well. So you want to be looking at ways to cut back on your outgoings to allow you to do this. If you're driving a fancy car and hire purchase, if you're going out for meals, if you're getting takeaway coffee, you need to strip all of this back until you get to a point where you're comfortably making enough money to do it again. Trying to live the lifestyle you led, in a 9-to-5 job, now you've just suddenly become freelance, it's going to be very difficult and very stressful. So you want to cut everything back, get your living costs as low as possible to start with, and then slowly build back up again. You don't need the added stress of financial burden on top of starting a new career. The next thing you need to look at is to check your work ethic. I have a lot of people come for workshops, come and work here, or ask for advice. And the big difference between those who make it and those who don't is their work ethic. I believe personally that work ethics can be changed. I was incredibly lazy in the past, but now I'm incredibly motivated and I work incredibly hard. I'm not the hardest working person in the world. I do have my flaws. I do get distracted easily, but I do work hard. Now, if you find that, in the last 24 hours, you've not done any work towards your photography. I'm not talking about reading F-stoppers articles, which you should read because I write them. But I'm talking more about actually practically getting in there and doing something of use with an outcome which is going to help you. If you've not done that, you need to really reassess your work ethic because every single day of the week you should be putting in some solid time into achieving this. If you've already left your day job and this is all you're doing, you should be putting in 10 to 12 hours a day minimum to try and push this into a place where it can be your career. So next up is patience. You need to be patient. When I started out over a decade ago, I thought I'd be a photographer within a year. I'd done my degree in science, my master's, and I was like, well, I'm educated. I'll jump into this and I'll just crack on. It took me a decade to get to a point where I was charging good money, where I had good clients. I see so many people 3 years in just bailing out, 5 years in, bailing out. If you really want this, you have to stick at it. At least give it a decade of your time. If you want it that badly, you need to push through the crappy times and just try and force yourself into a place where everyone beside you has dropped away. What I've noticed in my career is people who were my competition 5 years ago don't do it anymore. Not because I was better than them, not because I outworked them, but because they gave in before I did. And the only difference is, whilst the old people are retiring and people above me are getting better, I'm just moving into that slot. And every time we all sort of move along a little bit. But if you don't stick at it and if you're not patient, you won't ever get there. Okay, so the last tip is just to go all in. Once you've decided that you're going to be a photographer, be a photographer. Tell people, this is what I am, this is what I'm doing. Don't go around going, oh, I take pictures, trying to make a bit of a go of things. Just say, I'm a photographer, I'm a professional photographer, this is what I do. And once you're comfortable in saying that, you'll feel like a professional. For the first 5 years of my career, I was embarrassed to tell people what I did because I wasn't as successful as I wanted to be. And I felt ashamed of saying that I was a photographer because in my mind I wasn't. But looking back, I absolutely was. So own it, tell people what you are, tell people what you're doing. And the more you put it out there, the more work will come your way. If you enjoyed this video, do subscribe. I'm trying to put out 3 videos a week at the moment. We're going to be looking at the business of photography, commercial and food photography, and also the equipment and skill set required to achieve high quality photography.